So on Friday, I had a stick-em. It was interesting. Gary came, and there were a couple other people there as well. I got some interesting food for thought. On the one hand, well, I guess that Gary stormed out at the end because he thought I was being a truther. I definitely drank too much. But I wasn't being a truther. I was being just a political analyst. Now, here's the thing. This is why I complain about the truther, such as it is, movement, is only because they focus only on this unprovable stuff so far, and they try to tell us about physics in ways that just are not complete. They're not as compelling as they think. Whereas there's other stuff that's much more compelling. It's just less, it's more like regular news and less like, oh my gosh, big deals. Whereas why? But it should be a big deal. Okay? I mean, one, we know that the government knew that they were thinking about flying jumbo jets into things. That's from like a couple of years before. But maybe Bush didn't know that. But we know Bush was told that bin Laden wanted to hijack planes. And he was determined to strike the U.S. in August of 2001. That's a fact. The first page of that presidential daily briefing, which we know was read to him, and where it was read to him and everything. I would like to know, what did he do? Because that sounds like a warning to me. You know, Republicans want to say Bush kept us safe and there's nothing he could have done about that one little exception. Well, what did he try to do? Because I think that's important. Because it's not a conspiracy theory to know that all the high people in Bush's admin come from the Project for a New American Century. And we know they said it would be fortuitous to have another Pearl Harbor in order to enact their plan, their project. So they had at least a subconscious, at least a potentially conscious motivation to not try to stop that. That doesn't mean Bush knew they were going to hit the towers. Doesn't mean he doesn't either. Doesn't mean he knew where they were going to strike. It just means there was going to be a fortuitous event for them, a crisis that they could use, and they knew that. So yeah, I would like to know some proof of what they did, how they got on the tail of that information. I mean, there's a lot of intelligence out there and things you could say, oh, but the government knew this, and pretend the president knew or not. No, this is a presidential daily briefing. So we knew they thought it was important enough to tell the president. What did the president do about it? And that's more important and more actual than trying to claim that a plane can't knock a building down. And it doesn't make sense to me anyway. Why fly a plane into the building and then blow it up to make it fall down? You don't think that was horrific enough? You don't think that burnt-out building with the plane on the top of it wouldn't have been enough to start the Iraq War without the buildings falling down? I think taking out 3 floors and shutting down the World Trade Center, why would you risk blowing it up? Maybe they did anyway. Maybe there's an answer to that question. But we know that President Bush had intelligence warnings about bin Laden and his determined intention to strike the United States, which he did just a month later. What did Bush do? They thought it was important enough to tell him that. They don't bring you the easy problems when you're the president. What did he do? Nothing is what I think. We've never been told nothing. They've never released the rest of the PDB. Yeah, I'd like to know, people want to know, where's Obama born? I'd like to know what Bush did. I'd like to know what all of the presidential briefings that his whole presidency had said about bin Laden. A lot of people say he dropped the ball on purpose. We saw him go, I don't really care about bin Laden. Later, he didn't care about bin Laden then either. Okay, so is that a conspiracy? No, that's real politics, man. This is paying attention to what really went on, things we actually know that can be confirmed. And if you can't be upset about that, you don't get the right to be upset about speculative fiction.